All right, for real now.
Week number 13 in the National Football League. World of Matchups is back after being sick as a dog again. Spencer the Wiz, Blue Milk Boys Gaming. What's up, bro? How you doing this week?
I'm good. It's good to be back. It feels weird not to do this on Saturday now.
I know, man. And I'm sorry I keep canceling, man. There's something going around, man. Let me tell you.
There is, though. My kids are getting sick at school, too.
People, protect your neck, man. It's serious. It's not even COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just brutal out there right now. Take your vitamins. Anyway, back to the NFL, because that's what we're doing here. Chiefs at Houday, Cincinnati Bengals. Man, you know, there's always that one team that always just, no matter what, they're like a thorn in your side. No matter how good you play, no matter what the history is, they just beat you, and it doesn't matter where. For the Kansas City Chiefs, this has been the Cincinnati Bengals. They have lost the Bengals 6 straight times. The last time they won in Cincinnati, I think Spencer was in diapers. I don't even know if Spencer was alive, quite frankly. And this is a hotly contested matchup that we have that we're going to see, you know, for the second game this week. This is probably going to be there's so many good games this week, Spence. But
this is one of the best weeks in the NFL.
Yeah, one of the best weeks in the NFL, especially if you're looking to lay some wood and make some money. We'll talk about that. But Patrick Mahoney leads a flu bug team into Cincinnati. It's been reported this morning that about 6 different players are down with the flu. They're still missing Kadarius Toney, whose hamstring is still in New York. A lot of shit talking between Justin Reed, Jamar Chase, and the crew, Hayden Hurst. You know, Jamar Chase will be back this week. If you remember last year when Kansas City went there, he absolutely torched the Chiefs secondary. I think he scored again just now. It was an absolute pitiful display of defensive and D-backs when he went up against them, taking slants 80 yards. You know the rest. They go into Kansas City in the playoffs. Andy Reid doesn't know his ass from his elbow. They beat the Chiefs again, go to the Super Bowl, and lose by a narrow margin. Chiefs are minus 2.5 in this game. And I'm taking the Chiefs, not because I'm a homer, but I do believe that even with all the odds stacked against them, that Kansas City will win this game, and I'll tell you why for a number of reasons. Number one, what Joe Mixon are you going to get if Joe Mixon at all? Joe Mixon is not out there. That is a huge minus. Samaje Perine is just not the same player, although he has had some success in Mixon's absence. Mixon is a huge workhorse who ran the ball down the Chiefs' throats, especially in the playoff game when they needed to secure that W. He's concussed. He's been on the wrong side of questionable all week. Let's not forget, Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns this year in one game. I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves around the league. To me, he could be a poor man's Le'Veon Bell if, you know, head coach used him a little bit better. So that's number one. Number two, the Kansas City Chiefs have just played better on the road this season. I can't understand it. You know, when you consider the atmosphere that is Arrowhead Stadium and why they could have easily lost to the Raiders, easily lost to the Chargers. They did lose to the Buffalo Bills. They could easily have lost all these games. They barely beat a third-string quarterback in the Los Angeles Rams last week. That's a game that you should absolutely have handled. You should have blown that team out by 4 touchdowns. They just don't play well at home. But when they go on the road, they annihilate Arizona, who, great, they're not good, but they annihilate them. It's 37-7 in the third quarter. They go to Tampa, steamroll Tampa. They go to San Francisco, steamroll San Francisco. Look, I just think they'll be more focused. I do think the writing is on the wall for Patrick Mahoney. He knows that MVP is at stake here. Travis Kelce's unguardable. Even a flu-ridden Travis Kelce is unguardable here. I just don't. I think that they're going to come focused. They know that this is a team who has beaten them a bunch of different times now, especially under the Andy Reid regime, and they got to get this W. If the Chiefs get this W, you can pretty much secure the number 1 seed. Even with Buffalo breathing down their necks, their percentages and the chances of all these things happening, good for them. They're going to come to fruition, but they got to get this W. Number 3, Chris Jones is playing at an all-world level right now. He's basically unguardable. PFF has him as their number 1 ranked player at that position. That offensive line, I know they've made a lot of strides and a lot of upgrades to make it be better. I don't see it as being much better for them. Even though Cincinnati Bengals are winning, they can't stop a hellish pass rush. And now if you get Karlaftis, who got his first full sack last week, whose motor doesn't stop, guys like Carlos Dunlap have been playing well. Mike Dana has been playing well. They're going to bring the front four for sure. And if they dial up blitzes at the right times, I think you're going to be seeing Joe Burrow in trouble here. For those three reasons, I think that the Chiefs minus 2.5 is the play here. I'm not scared to lay this at all, even with a lot of dissension happening this week. I know Jamar Chase. I know T. Higgins. I know Tyler Boyd. They're a great team, or a very, very good team. But this is the type of team that the Kansas City Chiefs should be here. And a field goal by Harrison Butker is going to win me money. I'm going to take that all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. I think I heard a stat that if Joe Burrow is sacked more than 3 times, he has like a 20% win percentage, and anything 3 or less, it's like close to 90% for the season. So that's obviously what it's going to come down to. And you were right. I mean, Chris Jones is playing at an all-pro level right now. He'll make an all-pro team at his pace that he's going. So that bodes well for the Chiefs. The Travis Kelce thing is a very interesting factor for this game, because I feel like if they don't have Travis Kelce, then I know Patrick Mahomes is great, but a big reason for that is Travis Kelce. So if he's not 100% and Kadarius Toney too, then you start going really far down, the tree of guys who are going to start making plays for this team. Now they have good complementary pieces. Juju has been playing pretty darn well, like no doubt about it. But it's not going to. That wouldn't be enough. I mean, if you take Travis Kelce out of the equation for Kansas City, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, that's just not a top 15 wide receiver group, at least in my opinion. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But that's what it'll come down to, the lines, right? The offensive line for the Bengals, the defensive line. But we talk about that every week, and we're right. Every time we talk about the Bengals, we say it's going to come down to the offensive line. Can they keep them up? They'll win. They can't, they lose. And we're that's it. That is the number one factor, when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals in these games. And it seems like it's going to happen again. But a little extra beef in these games. I don't like to bet these kinds of games when there's a lot of emotions, because this is going to be a highly emotional game. They had that really big that blowout Jamar Chase game in the regular season, and they lose a close one in the playoffs. So I typically stay away. I'd probably be interested in taking the Bengals plus 2.5, just because I feel like, they're at home. They're playing pretty good ball right now. Their offense is starting to click a lot. You have the Jamar Chase coming back, which I think was a pretty beneficial time for all the secondary wide receivers for this team. When T. Higgins and all them, they stepped up, for sure. We all know they're good, but when you have Jamar Chase, the targets are going to go to him. And those guys don't see as many balls. And when he's out, I think the offense just has to learn to adjust. And obviously they can. I mean, T. Higgins is a number 1 wide receiver on most teams in the NFL. And he's just a secondary thought. So I think it's only going to get better for them. So I'd probably take the Bengals at home. I like taking, home dogs, and that's a really good spot to be in for a team that looks like they're ready to make maybe another run, maybe one. I think they have one more run in them. A little shaky at the start of the season for the Bengals, but it's a long season, and I think the Bengals understood that, and they pushed through a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. We saw it happen to the Rams. But the Bengals, I think, have recovered pretty well, and I like the direction that they're going in. So I could see either team winning this game. I think it's just a 50-50 thing. It's going to be a tough-fought game. But I'll lean towards the Bengals just because I think that they can get it done at home.
Yeah, and there's a case to be made for both sides. I like when we disagree, because it kind of makes for a more fun show. I think the X factor here that a lot of people are not going to really want to think about, because you have all these amazing weapons who are pass catchers. But Isaiah Pacheco, bro, I've been telling you about this guy for weeks. I've been screaming this guy's praises for 2 months, and they're finally starting to give this guy the ball. And you've noticed every week, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they're feeding him a little bit more. This guy runs so friggin' hard. Every time he touches the ball, it's like it's going to be the last time he'll ever touch the ball. That's how hard he runs. And what I have noticed in the NFL over a lot of years, teams try to do to Patrick Mahomes is run the ball to keep him on the sidelines. Well, while that may not be the Chiefs' MO, they're starting to do it more. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, they can't hurt you if they're not on the field. So now I believe if they start using Isaiah Pacheco the way they need to and just methodically move the ball downfield, dink, dunk, take what's given to you, and then when it's open over the top, take it, that will control the line of scrimmage, that will control the clock, and I think that's the game plan that you may see tomorrow that a lot of people aren't going to expect, especially if you have your pass catchers at less than 100%. I like Pacheco. I don't like the Bengal defense at all. I don't think they're as good this year as they were last year. I just think the Chiefs are tired of losing to this team. It's a little bit different than like Denver losing to the Chiefs. Denver just doesn't have the personnel to beat Kansas City. Kansas City has the personnel to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And like I said, their best ball has been played on the road all season long. It's almost like I don't want them to get home field because the pressure is on. Versus when you're on the road, man, it's us against them. It's you versus the world. They play crisper, cleaner, less penalty football. Go look at every single game they've played away from Arrowhead. I just don't understand it, but that's why I'm taking them here again. Closing thoughts?
You talked about Denver. I just want to say I don't think Denver has the personnel to beat anybody. I love the Bengals.
Accept themselves.
That's right. They're the best at doing that. They're so good at doing that. That's all. You could just. I think we could talk an hour about the Broncos and just look at their game.
So bad.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't waste my breath.
This will be a good game. I like that they flexed the Denver game out.
Yeah.
Like, wow, the NFL couldn't have missed the mark harder than with the Denver Broncos. They put them on prime time. But yeah, you know what I mean. This is gonna be a good game. This I'm excited about. This
game should be prime time. This should be Sunday Night Football. And look, the Kansas City Chiefs should just play Sunday Night Football all year long. The ratings prove it. It doesn't matter who they play. You know what I mean? It's must-see TV. It's what people want to watch, and you're going to see it again. The NFL continues to miss the mark. Put the best product on at the best times. Dexter Reed rolled the matchup. Spencer the Wiz, Blue Milk Boys Gaming, breaking it down for week number 13. Enjoy the games, everybody.